Hello and welcome to another edition of Debbie Reynolds TV. I'm so glad you joined me today, and I've got something to talk about today that's a little bit different from the typical types of YouTubes that I do, but I am very excited about passing along this message to you. And before we get started, I'd love for you to go ahead and click that subscribe button, click the like button. Be happy for you to share with anyone out there who you feel like you'd want to share with. I appreciate so much that you've joined me here. So I will tell you, this has been a very unusual Thanksgiving. It's now Sunday evening, and so of course we've celebrated for several days, as most people have, right? Except we had a little hiccup in ours. On early Friday morning, my husband had to be taken to the emergency room. He was admitted to the hospital, and he's been there. The good thing about it is it stopped us from overeating, but of course that's not how anyone wants to spend their holiday. I was very mindful of something that came to me while I was going in and out of the hospital or sitting there a number of hours with him, and I was thinking about how much it applies to those of us who are either already in business as entrepreneurs or people who perhaps are looking at a business and want to get started, but maybe feel a little bit scared, nervous, anxious. You think it's out of your comfort zone. You think that you can't do it. You're not good enough. You're not whatever enough to go out there and build a significant and meaningful business for you and your family. Well, I'm here to tell you, you are. You are. I see you. I hear you. I doubt there's any one thing that any of you would ever think that I have not personally thought and had to overcome. And I know where you are. But I want to tell you a couple of little short stories that I think will help make this point. One of them, and not to be religious, I am a God girl, but a friend of mine condenses scripture, and she puts these posts on Facebook every day. And I'm thankful that she does that, because she truly has the ability to understand the Bible and to put all the parts and pieces together, where for most of us it's a little bit difficult to read and piece all together. But she had a post several weeks ago, and the post said, "When the healer steps in, make sure you're ready to part with your bed of infirmity." And she had condensed that down from John 5:1-9. There's another scripture where Jesus says to a man, "Pick up your mat and walk." Well, those are action steps, right? Those all tell you, those scriptures tell you that a person has had something wrong with them, a disability, a challenge of some type that they needed to overcome, but they were told to take the action, pick up your mat and walk. When the healer steps in, be ready to give up that infirmity, which means give up whatever it is that's holding you back from accomplishing the goals that you want to accomplish, or from being the very best version of yourself that you could possibly become. So let me tell you a little story that I was thinking about. If you follow me on here, you know that I'm a big football fan, and most of you would know, if you are also football fans, who Paul Bryant was, the legendary coach of the University of Alabama. And I met a man some years ago and became friends with him, and he had this most amazing and compelling story to tell about Paul Bryant. My friend Gary, when he was a very young boy, contracted polio, and he was put into an iron lung. And if you don't know what an iron lung is, then, hey, I've never seen one either, okay? That was something that they used for treatment like years and years and years ago, but it's almost like one of these big round, looks like a barrel that they put you in, and your head sticks out, and that it breathes for you basically, because you're not able to breathe on your own. So Gary was placed in an iron lung at a hospital in Birmingham, Alabama, and one day Paul Bryant showed up to visit him. And of course Gary was ecstatic. As a young man living in Alabama, or I say young man, he was a young boy living in Alabama, and he was just thought Paul Bryant hung the moon. And so he was so thrilled to see him. Well, Paul Bryant stood there and talked with him for a little while about what was going on with him, about being in the iron lung. And he said to him, "You know what, son, I'm going to follow you. And I'll tell you what, if you get out of this iron lung, and if you work hard and you make it back, then when you're a senior in high school, I'm going to offer you a scholarship for the football team at the University of Alabama. Well, there could not have been anything that motivated Gary more than that, as you can well imagine. So Paul Bear Bryant stood there and continued to talk with him for a little bit longer. And then finally, at the very end of the conversation, he placed his hand on that iron lung. And he looked at Gary in the eyes and he said, "Son, if you're going to get anywhere in life, you're going to have to get out of that contraption first." Well, of course, that stuck with Gary. And as I've heard Gary tell the story so many times, and Gary has even related it as such, but the point to it is this: we all have a contraption of some sort, whether it's fear, depression, anxiety, feeling like we're not good enough, feeling like we're not enough, feeling like we don't have the skill set, feeling like we're not smart enough. You guys, there are a multitude of different, quote, infirmities or contraptions that keep us trapped and keep us from reaching out and going out and fulfilling what we want to do in life and what we're capable of doing in life. You know, it's hard to go anywhere in life if you are letting these certain fears or anxieties or anything out of your comfort zone, if you're letting that hold you back. So what I would want to challenge you to right now, and as I've said before, it's the end of Thanksgiving weekend, so you know there's only about 34 days left this year, which just absolutely freaks me out. But the next 34 days, think about what's holding you back. Think about what kind of contraption you're in. What is your contraption? What is your contraption? Identify that contraption. Identify the thing that's holding you back from the things that you would really love to be doing or pursuing. And when you determine what that particular thing is, make it a commitment that you are going to step out and overcome that, starting as soon as you identify it, but definitely stepping into the new year. I hope that you'll carry that with you, that you'll think about it, because we've all got a contraption, as I said before. To tell you what happened with Gary, he got out of his iron lung, he went on to school, and he always remembered what Bear Bryant said. That motivated him throughout his entire childhood. And lo and behold, when he was a senior in high school, he got a call from Coach Bear Bryant telling him that he had followed him, he had tracked him through high school, and that he had a scholarship for him on the University of Alabama football team. And of course, Gary absolutely could not believe it. Gary still was not in the type of physical condition that he could play football, but he became a manager for the football team. He followed Paul Bear Bryant around everywhere as a manager. And of course, coaches were so much more actively involved in the team and intimately involved with him back then, not in a bad way. I guess I need to qualify that statement now, right? These days, you never know. But anyway, Coach Bear Bryant was so involved with his team. And so Gary got to follow him around everywhere. He took down all the notes, he took the statistics and all that type of thing. And when Paul Bear Bryant passed away, and of course, there was a huge, enormous funeral in Alabama. It was like the whole state was in a state of mourning. And Gary was one of the 6 pallbearers for Paul Bear Bryant. That is what Gary meant to him, and that is what he meant to Gary, because Paul Bear Bryant single-handedly had helped Gary identify that he was in a contraption and that if he didn't get out of it, he was never going anywhere. But he had a tremendous prize waiting for him whenever he got out of that contraption. And it sure enough became fulfilled for him, and it will for you too. You know what? You sit there and you think it's really, really hard. I can't do this. It's too difficult. There's no way I can do this. You guys, give it up. Give it up. Yes, you can do it. You can step out in faith, grab somebody's hand who wants to help you, who wants to make certain that you move along and that you have your very best life to live, that you become the best version of yourself and you fulfill your purpose here on this earth. Grab the hand of that person and let them help you, because I promise you, it is not as difficult as you think it is. I hope this message has meant as much to you as it has to me all through the years. So I challenge you once again, pick up your mat and walk. Get out of your contraption. Go do what you were meant to do, to fulfill your purpose, to make your dreams come true, to have the life that you want for you and your family. Because I sincerely want you to have your very best life. Thanks again for being with me, and please go and click that subscribe button. Also, I'd love to have any comments that you all might want to put out there regarding this story about Gary and Paul Bear Bryant. It really is a fascinating story, so I'd love to get into conversations with you about that. It would be so much fun for me, and I hope to hear from each one of you, and I hope to see you back again soon. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.